So today, there's a slight change in the schedule. As Professor Kumar is indisposed, we will be discussing about liver. So first of all, about the anatomy of the liver. So as all of you know, it is the largest organ in the body. So it is in a 70 kg man, it is about 1.5 kgs. Whereas if the patient is less in weight, then it will be relatively less. So next organ is brain. So it is about 1.3 to 4 kgs. Another thing is the liver is covered with Glissen's capsule. So these terms you have to remember, particularly for your academic purpose. So Glissen's capsule. And over that there is visceral peritoneum. So both are different. Glissen's capsule is different from visceral peritoneum that covers the entire, it is the inner layer of most of the abdominal organs. But it is, as the name suggests, bare area. So this bare area is on the which aspect of the liver? Bare area. Yes. Is it anterior or posterior or medial or lateral? Where is this bare area of the liver? Not yet active today? Yes. What is this visceral surface? Yeah. One or two. Yeah, you are correct. Posterior aspect where there is, yeah, even 16 also has answered correctly. Posterior aspect where there is inferior vena cava and then hepatic veins combination is there. Okay. Of course, I told you, yeah, encloses superior and inferior coronary ligaments. So 1, 4, 3. Yes. So there are anatomically, as I told you the other day, there is large right lobe, there is a small left lobe. So anatomically, right lobe is having 5 segments, whereas left lobe is having only 3 segments. Another interesting is the aspect is which we exploit in liver transplantation is liver can regenerate, unlike some of the organs, major organs. It can regenerate after partial resection. This is very, very important aspect. Okay. Now, so what are the ligaments which will support the liver in its position? So as you know, it is in the right hypochondrium and it is supported by so many ligaments, of which one is left triangular ligament. So it is on the superior surface from liver to the diaphragm, and inferior vena cava, as I just told, will be attached there, inferior vena cava. And right is attaches the liver to the right hemidiaphragm. So though right triangular ligament attaches to right hemidiaphragm, left triangular will not attach to left diaphragm. That is what is important. So you have to remember like that. Then all of you know about the falciform ligament. That is also called as ligamentum teres. Actually, it is ligamentum teres is a part of falciform ligament. And what is this ligamentum teres? It is the remnant of umbilical vein. So during this in utero life, the blood supply is mainly by umbilical artery and the drainage is by umbilical vein. Once the baby is born, they will rapidly disappear by becoming ligaments. So another that is ligament is lesser omentum between liver, stomach and some part of the duodenum also. So these are the ligaments which will keep the liver in its position. So if you go to the thing, so here right will be here, left will be here, triangular ligaments. And this is the false form ligament. And from here to the stomach, there will be lesser omentum. Now, what is the blood supply? So major is from portal vein, 80%. Whereas hepatic artery, which is so small, it supplies only 20%. Hepatic artery, as you know, will come from celiac trunk, whereas portal vein is formed, the other day we were discussing, with superior mesenteric vein and splenic vein, to which inferior mesenteric vein will also get attached. So, though the blood supply volume is 80% from portal vein, oxygen is 80% from hepatic artery. So, it is the reverse. Volume is portal vein 80%, oxygen hepatic artery is 80%. So, of course, hepatic artery will divide into right and left hepatic arteries, just like the portal vein, which will also divide into right and left portal veins. And along with these artery and vein, along with this bile duct, that is right and left hepatic ducts, they are called as portal triad. Okay. So there are, of course, many anatomical variations in arteries. So why it is important we have to know about the anatomical variation is because we have to do surgery, either resection or transplantation of the liver. So this anatomy is very, very important. Of course, as I told you just now, hilum of the liver, where it is called as porta hepatis. So it is the there you will get this attachment of the lesser omentum, which is also called as hepatoduodenal ligament. So in the free edge there is common bile duct, whereas hepatic artery and portal vein will be there. So these three combined is called as portal triad. Okay. The venous drainage, already I was mentioning about hepatic veins. 3 veins are there. The other day I asked also a question. So right hepatic vein, middle hepatic vein and left hepatic vein, they will join the inferior vena cava. So these veins will join before the IVC pierces the diaphragm. So that is important. So now this term is also very important, choanod. So this choanod has divided liver into 8 segments. And what is important is each is a functional unit. So the other day I was telling you, liver needs minimum how many segments for survival? How many normal segments for survival? Liver? Yes, 2, 1, 4, 3. Yeah. 7, 5, 5, 3. All of you are correct. And even 18, yeah. 18 or 16, 18. So all of you are correct. It is minimum 2 segments. So that's why each is a functional unit with all this portal triad. Artery is there, vein is there, bile duct is there. So another term which you have to remember is Cantley's line. So this Cantley's line will divide the liver into surgical lobes. Falciform ligament will divide. So this is falciform ligament. It will divide the liver into large right lobe, anatomical lobe, whereas small left lobe, mainly consisting of 2 and 3 segments. Whereas this Cantley's line, see, this is the Cantley's line. This is an imaginary line. There is no such line on the liver. So for our convenience, we will divide liver into surgical lobes, 2 surgical lobes. This is the right one. So this is gallbladder. So gallbladder fossa. So it is an arbitrary line between gallbladder and the middle hepatic vein. So it will divide into functional right and lobes or surgical lobes. So functional. So this is the middle hepatic vein. So this middle hepatic vein and the gallbladder fossa, that is the line. So this right lobe will contain 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Whereas left lobe, now this 4th segment has also, so this segment has also gone into the left lobe. So this is 4th one. Of course, small caudate lobe will be there, very small. So don't bother about that. That is 1st segment. Then 2nd and 3rd. So total 4 segments will be there in left lobe, whereas these 4 segments are right lobe. So this is the anatomy. So these are the hepatic veins. Right hepatic vein will get supply from 5, 6, 7, 8. Whereas this 2, 3, 4 will get supply from the left and right hepatic veins. They are drained. Whereas this caudate lobe will get from both and right and middle. Similarly, you can see how portal vein is dividing into right and left branches. Similarly, the hepatic artery will also divide into right hepatic and left hepatic artery. So like that, all are divided. Bile duct also is divided as right and left bile ducts. So these 3 are called as portal triad: hepatic artery, bile duct, and portal vein. They are called as portal triad. Okay. So this is the anatomy which we have to remember. Now, of course, this is not so important for you. Then, what is the development of liver? So this is basically a foregut structure. So small endodermal bud early in gestation, just by 4th week itself, there is a bud there, endodermal bud. So it has got bipotential, that is, they may become either hepatocytes or duct cells, both bipotent cells. Of course, the endothelium will form the vasculature of the liver, and they are from the vitelline and umbilical veins. So the intrahepatic portion of umbilical vein is intact, whereas extrahepatic will become ligamentum teres. So that is important. Of course, the connective tissue is from the mesoderm, that is septum transversum. So all the 3 layers will be there. So it is endoderm, mesoderm, and endothelium is also there. Okay. What are the functions of the liver? This is very important. So basically, Though we know that it is mainly for metabolism, like glucose, fat, and protein, what is important is maintaining the core body temperature. So this is the one that is very important, and pH balance. Of course, all of you know that it is storehouse or synthesis of clotting factors mainly, and already glucose, protein metabolism, and another important function is bilirubin formation. So this bilirubin, as you know, will come from the hemoglobin. So this is an optimal utilization of resources. So the hemoglobin that is degraded will become bilirubin. Okay. So this again there is enterohepatic circulation. Again this bilirubin that is produced once its work is over in the intestines, it will again go back into the liver, and then it will again help in the formation of, once this is degraded, it will again help in the formation of hemoglobin. So another important function is drug and hormone metabolism. Once these drugs are taken in and the hormones are produced, they are metabolized in the liver. Another function is endotoxins. So one of the routes of elimination of toxins in addition to kidney is liver. So all these things are the functions of the liver. These 8 functions you have to remember even in your sleep, not only in sleep, even in your dreams you have to remember. So that there are these functions. So maintaining body temperature, pH balance, synthesis of clotting factors, glucose metabolism, urea formation, that is protein catabolism, and bilirubin formation, and drug and hormone metabolism, removal of gut endotoxins. So all these are the functions of the liver. Now, so we have to know today discuss also about the liver functions. So all these functions are you can test by these tests. So most of all, we mainly depend on bilirubin production. So in jaundice, we will measure this bilirubin. So normal is between 0.2 to 0.8. Of course, usually we say anything more than 1 is abnormal. But at what level jaundice manifests? Jaundice manifests at what level of bilirubin? Difficult question. I thought you are all experts in medicine, isn't it? So you are nearer. So it is going on increasing. 143 has put some figure. 81 has put another figure. 48. All of you are putting 3 milligrams. 102 also. So maybe medicine they might have told you so, but we believe in surgery anything more than 2 is the, so you just verify it. Oh, more than 10, who is this gentleman or woman? More than 10, that is absolutely wrong, so don't bother about that. So in surgery we take anything more than 2 as jaundice, but you verify it with medical counterparts. So, but normal level is only 0.2 to 0.8. Then all of you know the level of alkaline phosphatase. This is very important measurement for not only liver, but is the other organ or system. Alkaline phosphatase is important in addition to liver. pancreas of all the organs, alkaline phosphatase. Yes, 140 is correct. Skeletal system. So, yes, musculoskeletal. It's not musculo, it's mainly skeletal. 1, 2, 2, 4, 1. So, it is skeletal. Now, after that, you have AST, ALT levels also. Maximum is 40 international units per liter. Maximum. So, aspartate and alanine transferases. So, this glutamyl transferase also almost same level. So, these can be measured. And in obstructive jaundice and this hepatocellular failure, there will be raise. Okay. Then albumin. Most important significant thing is albumin. So it should be anywhere between 30 to 50 grams per liter, or usually we measure in deciliter, so it will be about 3.5 to 5 grams per deciliter. This is very, very important measurement as far as nutrition is concerned. So then prothrombin time normally is 12 to 16 seconds. So clotting factors, as the liver is the production house for clotting factors. So 12 to 16 is normal, but depends on the control. So usually we will not simply measure this one. We will use control, and in relation to the control values, usually it will be about 13 to 14. So if it is raised more than that, then we think it is increased. So prothrombin time, right? Of all these things, you have to remember bilirubin in surgery. You have to remember bilirubin, alkaline phosphatase, prothrombin time, and albumin. So now let us go to the other investigations after liver function test. One is ultrasound. This is, as mentioned here, it is first line test. So for any problem, whenever you suspect hepatomegaly, but unlike spleen, liver is usually palpable unless the enlargement is upwards. Do you know any disease where enlargement is upwards, liver? Usually. Actually, it is not enlargement. I can tell you it is a lump there. In what disease? There is upward enlargement or upward swelling. Very good. Liver abscess. Number 18. So you should have been more specific. Amoebic liver abscess. So which segment involved is mainly involved in amoebic? So I am showing these segments. Which segment amoebic liver abscess is common, and why? That is also another thing. Question. Yes. Not getting the answer. Okay. Yes, 18. You are 18 and 4-1. Yes. 1-4-3 also correct. So the reason is seventh segment. So it is the reason is it is the largest compared to other right lobes segments. Of course, this is the largest quadrate, but in right lobe it is the largest. That is one. Second thing is direction of the flow. You can see it is directly going from portal vein. It is going to the seventh segment. So there is enlargement of the seventh segment. So that's why there will be enlargement here, and the X-ray shows elevation of the diaphragm. X-ray. So that is the reason Why there may not be this hepatomegaly, though there is hepatomegaly, you may not find. Yes. Yeah, you are correct. Portal system is the direction. That's what I am explaining. So the direction is towards seventh segment. This is superior and posterior segment also. So when the seventh segment is enlarged, diaphragm is elevated instead rather than the liver getting palpated down. But in most of the diseases, even in liver abscess also, at least one finger or half finger breadth, liver is palpable. So in fact, previously our commonest diagnosis, right, hypochondric pain and is amoebic liver abscess or amoebic hepatitis, we used to say. Amoebic hepatitis. So there, sharp border of the liver will be palpable, just palpable below the right costal margin. So that is it. So ultrasound is the first line. Of course, it is mainly used for biliary system rather than the liver mainly. For liver, it is mainly for abscess or liver tumors. Okay. Whereas mainly for biliary system, already we have finished this, isn't it? Then of course, depending on the Doppler, you can even detect the blood supply, and this is particularly useful in cirrhosis and this Budd-Chiari syndrome, all those cases where the blood supply is either increased or decreased. Of course, the other day I was telling you about the needle for biopsy. What are the needles for biopsy? Yes, I told you the needles for biopsy. What are they? Yes, 5-3 says it is Wim Silverman. Good. Any other? Wim Silverman, for anything you can use Wim Silverman, but specific for liver. I was telling you the other day, but you forgot already. Birmingham gauze. What is this Birmingham gauze? I never heard Birmingham gauze. What is this gauze to do with needle? So, yes. Mangini needle, very good. 128, you are correct. Manganese needle, that is one. Another one I told, all of you are unable to remember it or what? Okuda. So many needles are coming. 140, but mainly two needles. So either Sheba needle or manganese needle, both are correct. Okay, Sheba's needle and manganese needle. So you can do, but with a lot of precautions. The absolute contraindication, already I told you, is bleeding diathesis. So should not do in cases of bleeding diathesis, because once you poke, the patient may bleed to death. So absolute contraindication is bleeding diathesis, and also vascularly, if you suspect vascular lesions by Doppler, you should never do biopsy. So mainly in medical practice, it is used biopsy, but in surgery, we do liver biopsy only in palliative care, because not only palliative, the terminal cases where you want to try chemotherapy. Before chemotherapy, the oncologist wants the tissue diagnosis. So in those cases, taking all precautions, you have to do this biopsy. But in surgical practice, routine surgical practice, the biopsy is not that much warranted. And another, though not absolute, is relative contraindication for liver biopsy or needle insertion is hydatid cyst. So suspect hydatid cyst, you better avoid because it can lead to anaphylactic shock sometimes. So these are the three contraindications. One is bleeding diathesis, another is any blood vessel disease like hemangiomas, highly vascular tumors, and thirdly, it is hydatid cyst. Of course, in some of the countries like China, they will do ultrasound screening test for hepatocellular carcinoma because it is very high incidence there. So these are the uses of ultrasound. It is the first line test whenever you suspect liver problem. One, to confirm that it is liver. Two, to know what is the nature of the lesion. Is it solid or cystic? If it is cyst, is it an abscess or an hydatid cyst or a polycystic liver? Like that. Then of course, liver tumor. Solid, we expect liver tumors. And blood flow also we can detect. So next, let us go to the CT scan. So now for liver, this is the gold standard CT scan. What is that? Triple phase, multi-slice. The number of slice will give you. Can you tell me what is the slice number in our college? You should all know what are our facilities, isn't it? How many slice CT scan we have? Or at least you guess. Or at least tell me how these numbers will be. CT scan slices. It's not a difficult question, I believe. At least you don't bother about our college. What is the, yes. So it is measured like that. Yeah, 1, 4, 3, 8, 16, even 4, 2, 1 are also there. So 81, 16, good. So now what is the highest now we are getting? Okay, 16 is ideal. 640, how come 640 has come? If you multiply 8 or 16, it will not come 640. So it is like this. So CT scan, it is 1 slice, 2 slice, 4 slices, 8, 16 is the one which is the MCA wants. Then you have 64, 128, 256. Of late, I think we have seen even this, but this is available most of the places, 256 and 128. It is 128, 256, not much of a difference. So usually they will go for 256. That is available. 512 also I heard has come, but I have not seen. So what is the advantage of this CT scan? You can pick up to 1 centimeters, not less than, but usually up to 1 centimeter you can pick up lesions. And definitely not those which are less than 0.5. It cannot. 5 or 0.5, it cannot pick up. So if you want to pick up less than 5, then you have to go for other investigations like endoscopic ultrasound or laparoscopic ultrasound. You can see. So usually for liver, we give oral contrast for delineation of surrounding structures like stomach. You have seen carcinoma stomach and liver secondaries. I've shown you. So in relation to liver hilum, you can see all these things. Of course, you will also give IV also, so that arterial phase. Once you give into the vein, after reaching the heart, it will go to the hepatic artery, and then it can show small liver cancers because of vascularity, increased vascularity. Another thing is, as I told you, liver is supplied a dual blood supply, but when it comes to tumors, it is the artery that is mainly, because these tumors need oxygen. They depend mainly on arteries rather than the vein. Next is venous phase. You can see the portal vein, hepatic veins, all these things. Of course, in inflammatory lesions, there is what is called as rim enhancement. So the periphery is enhanced, whereas hemangiomas, mainly they are venous. So there is venous enhancement. So these are of academic interest for you. In entrance, they may ask you. Okay. Now, next, let us go to the next imaging, that is MRI. So this MRI in patients allergic to, whenever you need contrast, you cannot give because the patient is allergic to iodine. So then you can do MRI. But otherwise, there is no advantage of MRI over CT. Both are almost same. Of course, MRCP again, this is mainly for biliary. So let us not discuss more about this. But what is important is MR angiography. So you can do MR angiography, and then you can cannulate the hepatic artery, and then do MR this one. So that is also important. Now, next is of course ERCP. We'll discuss more about ERCP in pancreas. So that is another investigation. Whenever there is obstructive jaundice and biliary dilatation, you have to do ERCP if you want to do anything therapeutic, whereas MRCP for diagnostic purpose. Of course, it is not without danger. So it has got the pancreatitis, cholangitis, all these are problems. Perforation of duodenum, bleeding. So one should be careful before doing ERCP, and the prerequisite is coagulation profile. You have to do antibiotic also, you have to. So another, the other day I was discussing about PTC, that is via the liver percutaneously. This is one prerequisite to do PTC is you have to ensure that there is, what is there? Yes, what is the prerequisite? I was mentioning about it. Before you do, you have to do, before you do PTC, you have to ensure that there is this. What is that? If you read that slide, you can answer, I believe. So read the slide carefully, then you can answer. Still, if you cannot, I will tell you. What is PTC? So it is cholangiography, isn't it? Cholangiography. So cholangiography, that is not prerequisite, that is an alternative. So when endoscopy fails, anyhow you can do PTC, but what is the prerequisite of PTC? So endoscopy can be done in any case. But PTC cannot be done in every case. Every case of jaundice, you cannot do PTC. So it is not a difficult question. I don't know why you are having, in spite of my answering this question once or twice earlier, you are having problem. So PTC is, so this is the skin. So you are puncturing the liver like this, and you will strike the bile duct and then aspirate, isn't it? So you will aspirate. So if you want to puncture the bile duct without injuring the vessels, and also to strike that bile duct, they needs to be dilated. So bile duct needs to be dilated. Then only you can insert your needle into the bile duct. So what you need is, so this is PTC. For PTC, you need dilated bile ducts. That you have to remember. How to ensure that there are dilated bile ducts? First, you have to do ultrasound. Then only you can do this test. Otherwise, it will land in bleeding problems. So, this needs to be done very cautiously by an experienced radiologist only. So, when do we do? You can guided external drainage. So, how do we drain? This is called as PTBD, that is percutaneous transhepatic biliary drainage. So what you can do is you can put a catheter like this into the thing, and then it can be a bag will be there. So that is called as percutaneous transhepatic biliary drainage. Whenever there is a stricture like this, so here there is dilatation and there is a stricture, complete stricture is there. So endoscopy cannot go like this. In those cases, to relieve the symptoms of obstructive jaundice, you can do PTBD. This is as a palliative measure, because obstructive jaundice will have what symptom? What's the most distressing symptom of obstructive jaundice? Yes. Symptom of obstructive jaundice. You are not able to tell me. Pain. Pain is there. Okay. To relieve pain also it can be done, but that is not the one. So why do you want to relieve black colored urine? Palliative care is to relieve distressing symptoms. Yes. 4-8 as answered correctly. It is itching. Intense itching will be there. So that can be relieved with draining the bile, and the patient can be, of course, even pain also to certain extent relieved. That is the usage of percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography, otherwise called as PTC. Of course, angiography is also there. selective angiography, you can catheterize the hepatic artery and then do what is called as transarterial embolization or transarterial chemoembolization, TAE or TACE, TACE. Transarterial chemoembolization. This is mainly for tumors. Okay. So this is very, very important. And what are the uses? So you can, before you do liver resection, as I told you, it is lot of anomalies may be there. So you want to know the anatomy of hepatic artery, and then the tumor involvement is there or not. And so you can also inject chemicals and the embolizing material into the arteries. So that for that you can do angiography, right? Next, of course, there is nuclear imaging also there. Nowadays, I don't think it is much. There are so many are there. Sulfur colloid previously for this Kupffer cell activity, Kupffer cell adenoma may be there. So for that, anyhow, but that is not important for you. So many are there. FDG PET is the one which they do for PET scanning. Now, finally, laparoscopy. So before you proceed with extensive surgeries, first you can do laparoscopy. And then if the liver is riddled with multiple small secondaries which are not seen by your ultrasound or even CT scan, so there may be multiple liver secondaries, small, so small on the surface, then this case is unfit for surgery, any resection. So for that, you can, so for staging of hepatopancreaticobiliary cancers. So once there are liver secondaries means you have to abandon. Okay. Actually, previously, when we were not having this we were having, but not so extensively. So each room, one laparoscope now we have, but as previously, some say 10 to 15 years back, to do what is called as Whipple's operation for pancreatic cancer, I have given a big incision like this. So I have given this incision like this, big incision. And once I opened the abdomen with that big incision, I have found multiple small secondaries over the liver. So I had to abandon the surgery and then do some palliative gastrojejunostomy and cholecystojejunostomy like that. So laparoscopy that's very useful. Also peritoneal metastasis also can be seen, and the extension of laparoscopy is already I told you, laparoscopic ultrasound. Surface you can see by laparoscopy, whereas laparoscopic ultrasound will detect inside tumors. So which are not detected by CT scan also, this lab ultrasound can detect. So that is the advantage. Okay. So now coming to the modality and then the indications. Ultrasound is standard first line investigation. Without that, you cannot proceed. And as I told you, it is a prerequisite for PTC. CT, before you do any surgery on liver, you need CT scan. MRI is an alternative to CT, and when the patient is allergic to certain dyes, then you can do MRI. Then ERCP mainly for biliary tract. Let us not bother much about it. Even similarly, MRCP also. Whereas PTC is for, as I already told you, for cholangiography and biliary drainage. Angiography mainly to detect the vascular involvement. Nuclear medicine mainly for tumors, PET scan particularly. Laparoscopy, it will detect the peritoneal and superficial liver mets. Okay, so we will talk about trauma later. I don't know whether these investigations, okay. So I don't know what happened to the, wanted to show certain photographs. Next class I will show, in addition to the liver injuries. We'll talk about liver injuries in our next class, when I will show the photographs of each of these for your perusal anyhow. So next class we'll discuss mainly about the liver trauma. Okay, right. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Any doubts in the subject covered so far on liver, you can ask me. Why in my class you don't get any doubt? Most of the classes you are asking questions, as I have heard. But in my class you don't have any doubts. What is the reason? Is it because you have not understood anything so that you can ask some question? Okay, seems to be you are all perfect in liver anatomy and investigations. So we will stop here. Thank you.